King's Honor, friend.
Yeah, so season 4 is starting later this summer, and by later this summer, it's an unannounced thing. But patch 9.2.5 got announced this week as showing up on the 31st or the 1st if you're European, which is Tuesday or Wednesday. We kind of, I would say it was with relatively short notice, but not too much is actually changing with 9.2.5, correct?
Yeah, it is definitely something where like a lot of people I know were like thinking, oh, May 31st is well ahead of their prediction for this. But I mean, it isn't actually a patch that has all that much major content. Much of the stuff that like the new M plus rotation, the new affix, the faded raid system, the item level bump, all of those are part of season 4 rather than being part of 9.2.5. 9.2.5 really only has one major feature, I would say. It doesn't even have any serious amount of tuning of any kind. It has like some minor PvP tuning, very minor though. If you PvPers are in shambles, as are some M plusers about the lack of tuning. But the cross faction is the big thing that's coming in, right? You will be able to play with some conditions with people of the opposite faction. You need to. It's like it won't happen for guilds unless you use this cool glitch that is certainly going to be fixed. So
it's going to get fixed. Yeah.
Briefly, you could do it on PTR, but no way that makes it alive, right? Of that, and you can't do it. It won't happen in like random match made groups, and you can choose to, when you list a group, to have it only show up to your faction if you want. But you can also choose to invite people of the opposite faction, and you can invite your friends from opposite faction, or different servers, all that stuff, and do dungeons, raids, everything basically. PvP as well. I think arena, rated arena, all of that is. Yeah, Mythic Raid. So the Mythic Raid part is interesting because there are a lot of guilds I know that have some reservations about allowing their members to switch faction. The first is like, okay, first off, like, what if it bugs, right? And second off is like, what is the restriction going to be like next patch, right? In patch 10.0, will my guild still be able to get Hall of Fame, for instance, because you need 16 people in the same guild to get guild achievements, right? So, okay, does that just mean we can have 4 people on the opposite faction? Can we even set foot into a Mythic Raid with people of the opposite faction before the Hall of Fame is full? Because like they're enabling cross-region Mythic Raid at the same time as this, but they actually, the Alliance Hall of Fame isn't even full yet. It's
The weirdest thing is, like,
will this brick things in 10.0? Will people have to switch back in 10.0 to make things work? The guilds are also worried about just losing that sense of being a guild and being a community, because they'll have, like, if people switch and therefore aren't being able to be part of the guild and see guild chat and stuff. Yeah.
It's also kind of unclear as to whether or not this is actually going to work whenever Mythic is immediately released, because Mythic is realm locked normally, but it's unclear if it's also faction locked. Because so it's not guild locked, but like the guild specific stuff that you brought up is something that it looks like it's going to be a no, at least unless there's something that changes. However, the question is definitely to, like, what is going to are you going to be able to just raid Mythic immediately with people of the other faction come 10.0? Like 9.2.5, obviously it's cross faction. Cross region is opening up immediately with 9.2.5 coming
cross
out.
Realm,
by the way,
not cross region, but
cross realm. By the way, great change for Mythic. We've been waiting for like Alliance Hall of Fame to open up for a couple of tiers with this, and more often than not, it's been okay. With the extended length that this raid has been, I think that opening it up a little bit early with the 9.2.5 is actually a great change.
Yes, I think untying it from the Alliance Hall of Fame will be a good thing that potentially once they make cross-faction guilds, that will be even easier. But it is kind of the question, is just like, why can't we do cross-faction guilds? Because it would be a lot easier if we could. But they've kind of answered this, which is they don't want to make that kind of big groundbreaking change too soon. And they pretty heavily hinted that, like, if this goes well and if everybody wants cross-faction guilds, it could happen at some point in the future. But it's not part of this initial offering. But I see a lot of the remaining friction in the system coming from the fact that, the guilds aren't cross-faction yet.
Well, do you think that ultimately they should, okay, maybe not right now, but like come 10.0, they should make sure that guilds are going to be cross-faction? Because right now, that, like you said, there is this workaround that Mr. GM found on, he posted on Twitter. I ended up seeing this whenever he tweeted it out. This Wowhead has this like great article talking about it. Like, is this something that you think needs to be changed? Because personally, it's like I think this is just like like you said, the final amount of friction that's going to like draw those draw the lines between Horde and Alliance is like the guild stuff. At the same point, though, the game was always based around Alliance versus Horde, and the fact that they are blending that together is weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the gameplay should be taking charge here, and raids have always been, not always, but have very recently, every raid you've had Thrall and Jaina, both on the same side, helping fight the bosses. So like, why are the champions of Thrall and the champions of Jaina not allowed to do the same, right? So
Sure.
I think that it definitely is a case of like, yeah, the sooner that happens, the better. That will, like, there are going to be a lot of people who might swap to Alliance if they know they have to buy one faction transfer, but who are going to be hesitant to do so if they're worried that it means they'll have to swap back to Horde, to Mythic Raid in a future patch, or to be like, even just to be part of a guild, right? People who don't Mythic Raid at all still have a tremendous attachment to their guild in a lot of cases. That's one of the core parts of World of Warcraft is your guild, right? So for as long as that restriction remains in place, I think we'll see minimal use of the cross-faction stuff. You'll see it in like high-end Mythic Plus, high-end PvP a lot. But once that last barrier falls, once they tear down that wall, I suspect that most Mythic Plus oriented players, for instance, will be playing Dwarves or Night Elves for power of that, right?
They're also changing the rank 1 Mythic Plus cutoff to no longer be faction tied. It's now just region wide.
Although notably, they're not changing the PvP one, so you can have a PvP team of a dwarf and an orc, and the orc will get the title and the dwarf won't.
That was so weird to me, by the way.
Even if you queue all your games together. So
are you planning on changing, by the way?
I might change a character, something like that. I think I would only do it if I was wanting to do M+, like push M+ on a character. That would probably be the only reason I would do the change, because I've always identified with the Horde, right? But the big thing about this change is that ideally we get to a point where, like, once that guild thing goes away, then we'll get to a point where people that are exactly like me, but they've always identified with the Alliance, can actually just go and play Alliance. And I think right now, even that, like, it doesn't overtake the being in the same guild part of things. So I think of the people I know that are like me, the only people who will switch characters will be the ones who are like, oh, I want to push a 30, let me get Stone Form.
By far, the biggest change is like allowing Alliance players access to.
Yeah, it's huge if you were existing Alliance to be able to, like, you're going to be able to open up your group finder, and there are going to be groups in there. That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. A couple other things that are happening in 925. You can still earn Raid, AOTC, and Cutting Edge. Season 3 Keystone Teleports. These are not things that are going away in 925. These will probably be around until the end of the expansion. Do we actually know if these are going to go away with Season 4? I don't know. So how it's actually been done in previous expansions is that these have just been present until the end of the expansion, but we haven't gotten a season.
Yeah, it is a little strange because, like, we haven't ever gotten an item level bump in this way, in this, like, modern era. But yeah.
Okay, so I guess it wouldn't make sense for Cutting Edge and AOTC to stay. Now that I'm really thinking about it, maybe some new thing would replace it.
I am curious about that as well. I would say, obviously, like, if you're... Yeah, I wouldn't rely on it. I think there's a chance they might, but it's definitely... I suspect they're probably not even 100% sure how they want to handle it just yet. Because I think if they did, they would probably tell us. But I think it's one where there's some conflict there.
Yeah, and this also talks about the Cryptic Hero Shadowlands Season 3 achievement, because this is like a competitive achievement, and they wanted to merge the two together. This is the blue post that was referring to that.
Right. It's the one that removed the faction based nature of Cryptic Hero.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, beyond that, though, I think that overall 925 is going to be interesting. I'm excited to be able to play with Alliance players. I think that just giving them access to, like, right, just it's going to have a level of inclusion that I think is really good for the game. It's going to be able to merge the player bases. I think it's going to be a step in the right direction. Maybe not for raiding this patch, but for raiding in the future, especially come Dragonflight. Overall, pretty cool. I do genuinely hope that they make cross-faction guilds a thing, and cross-faction mythic raiding a thing, where if I want to, I can be a Night Elf for next raid tier or something like that.
I think it's not even just for the raid tier. It's like faction swap once to whatever to Alliance and get to stay Alliance and not feel like you might have to swap back to Horde for some raid reason. Yeah. Anyways, I'm on board as well. Yeah.
But yeah, how it goes. Anyways, are you guys excited about this change? I mean, I'm sure all the Alliance players are stoked. Any other possible pitfalls that maybe we overlooked? Should like the guild change be absolutely top on the radar? What were you gonna say?
There's one pitfall. Okay, how much of a toxic stigma do you think there's going to be in like LFG keys towards Alliance players? Like whenever any Alliance player screws up, how much do you think it's gonna be like, oh, those Alliance players are so bad? How much do you think that's gonna be a how many screenshots of that do you think we're gonna see on like the Reddit and stuff? I think that it will happen a distressing amount of the time. So if you're listening to this right now, do not do that. If you are a
wait, yeah. People do that?
Well, like the people have like stigmas towards servers. People have stigmas towards all kinds of stuff. I feel like there will be a similar one towards Alliance players, just because like I don't know. I could be completely off base here.
They're still Alliance right now, but
this is my current read of the future, though. Just a prediction throwing out there.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm wrong. I hope so.
Please comment. We need this for the algorithm. Anyways, we'll see you guys later. Goodbye.